speaker this evening is going to be Hugh Trussel. Hugh Trussel is from Mississippi. He's got an interesting, or he had an interest in hobby hay farming, and it led him to the American Hay and Forage Conference in 2012, and that's where he first heard about regenerative agriculture. Then he began attending annually the grass-fed beef exchange with an interest in local meat harvesting. In 2018, he saw his first slaughter trailer at this event and launched into his own cow-calf and stocker operation. In 2020, he had animals to harvest and no place to take them. That sound familiar to anybody? And this is what led him to him receiving a grant to begin on-farm processing. Hugh, thank you for being with us.
Thank you. I wish that I knew a lot about something that I could be a real speaker and come and talk to you for a long time about something. Not used to public speaking. To give this the best shot I have. This picture, this is a pitch for Timeless Fence that I'd like to make. The first thing I did that mentioned in my bio there when I came back from South Dakota is I bought a bunch of cows and I got Timeless Fence. The NRCS gave me money to put up this Timeless Fence as a test project in Mississippi, and then we put this is a row crop farm that's been a no-till farm for over 20 years. You see the standing water there. In the next photo, you'll see more standing water. It is still there. They're having trouble, and they wanted to try grazing on this place. We did have a good year there, or almost a year there, except for some of the people broke down that were working with me on the farm. But we had a tornado come through right after we did the fence, and those posts, there was one post in particular, I wish I'd taken a picture of it. It was bent 90 degrees, flat on the ground underneath a piece of tree, and every bit of that Timeless Fence stood right back up, and the only wire that's broken on there, the track hoe broke it. So it went after, there were 8 trees down on this one fence row. We ended up having over 3 pounds a day average daily gain through our grazing experience there, but they chose not to continue to have cows on this land and are still trying to figure out how to farm. So, y'all have heard of this guy. This is a quote that John Tyson made on being sued. And if you notice in this quote, who does he leave out? The farmer's mentioned. The farmer's the one that's he's. If you want to sue somebody, that's you, the farmer. Okay. The real problem is Walmart. What about him? He's going to make sure he makes his money. He's getting Walmart what they want, and somebody's got to be squeezed. So, anybody doesn't know who Temple Grandin is? Temple came to Mississippi. This is our slaughter trailer, our first slaughter trailer. Temple came to speak, and she was having so much fun talking to us about the quote that I wrote on there from her didn't show up. I had just handwritten one on there. But Temple came to talk to young people about big being fragile. And we were her example, and she stood and talked to us until they drug her away from us to go speak. But what Temple is saying about these big plants, they're big and they real quickly can be shut down, and that we saw that during the COVID experience when all these plants were being shut down because people had 1 or 2 people gets COVID and they shut the whole plant down. First of all, what we attempted to do was get this harvest trailer, and then try to start working gradually with small farms. Our first small farm that we went to, this is a lot my fault. So we're trying to do USDA slaughter, and our first slaughter we had there's basically 4 divisions of oversight under the USDA. We had 3 of the not just representatives from those divisions, but the head of those divisions for the USDA for the district, the entire district that Mississippi is in. And at the end, the first time we slaughtered, we did sheep. We had a hard time. The guys were new. The farmer knew that part of it, that we had to work. Our guys had to learn what they're doing. At the end of the day, I learned that they could have shut us down. We had 5 sheep come into a cattle squeeze, and when they did, one sheep climbed another sheep's back, and he knocked the top of the head gate out, and all 5 sheep escaped out of the head gate. Fortunately, they went the right way and went right back in, but then there was some polywire that one of the sheep got his leg caught in. Well, I get told, so next time, there's only 3 of us represented here. There's going to be the 4th guy. Next time, the animal welfare guy is going to be here, and he would have shut you down for that. So next time we do it, we try to do a pig. Unfortunately, I didn't know enough to know that a 600-pound sow is not a pig that an amateur needs to be dealing with, trying to stun it in the harvest. Not on top of that, it's very hard for amateurs to do the cutting as well on that. So we were shut down that time. The pig took the first attempt was a misfire of the gun. We went to our backup gun. The young man doing it, a 600-pound sow's got a very small brain by that point. And he missed and had to do a restun. I don't think he actually missed. I think he totally didn't. It didn't hurt her at all. I think he missed and she moved her head. So we were suspended. In 2020 is when I got my grant. I got the trailer ordered. We got it in the summer of 21, and we started slaughtering in the fall. And then after this suspension, I had to start thinking about, wait a minute now, what's my role? I'd been driving this. I'd written my own HACCP plan. I was worn out from going through just the process of getting the HACCP plan done. So I began to start backing up and looking at this. I need to get back into the role that my time in commercial real estate, and I was a problem solver. I'd fix things, and this had problems in it. I need to get back to the area where I'm fixing, and I need people to focus on the other things like the who's going to be the butcher and so forth. So I went and visited a farm that Alan Williams is a manager on, and that's when I first started thinking of this concept. The green area is the area that I want to make the area we want to tackle with a series of slaughter trailers. And let me tell you, I put this presentation together on Monday evening after I baled 80 bales of hay, and those were round bales, and then played tennis. And then I got up the next morning, I was going to finish it up, and I ended up going to a meeting at my church instead. But the meeting at my church, I came up with the idea what I really want to talk about here, and that is this. So these are in the stages of harvesting. You've got your harvest, you've got aging, you've got cut and wrap, freeze, and sales. I put this skeleton on here to put the backbone in that one row right there. The top row is what I consider the only way we're going to make the on-farm slaughter work is to be able to find farms that I'm going to describe in this. The top line is the backbone of what we need to have happen in order to do on-farm slaughter. Mike Lawrence has several processing facilities, and he did a presentation at the Grass-Fed Exchange, and it was very good, lively discussion among producers. And one of the things that he said is, first of all, he was against the idea of doing this. And then he said, but I learned that I need to keep my mouth shut because it's coming. But the main thing that he said that stuck with me is that, and this is one of the hardest things to kind of get us to doing again, because we've had so much tearing us apart lately, but we have to work together. I have put together, for example, the butcher that I have working for me, you'll see a picture of him on the last slide. His brother is a mixologist. He makes coffees and teas, and you go to a chain restaurant, he's probably made their coffee or their teas or some drink that they have in there. He's a brewer, distiller, whatever. And he's become both these guys have become really good friends of mine. It actually turns out I dated their mother back in high school. I didn't know it until we put it all together. So Benny is my butcher, and Trey, his brother, has got tattoos on half his body. Benny has one tattoo. He has a ruler on his finger so that he can measure meat faster. This is a guy who's got a college degree who wants to do nothing but cut meat. And that's what you're after. You can do slaughter. You can have a slaughter. I mean, everybody's complaint about slaughter, at least around me, has to do with quality of what the output. The people that they hire to do it, they're just taking a job. Benny said to me, he said, most of the guys he works with in the butcher business, what is it? They got a girl pregnant and had to take a job to be a butcher, as a butcher to make ends meet, and he's gone the opposite way. He didn't get a girl pregnant and kept going at it, and now he's the one stuck doing it with a career. But absolutely loves doing it. All these other boxes down at the bottom, they represent other things related to other facets of processing. For example, one thing I don't have on there is butchers. I could go and harvest for butchers. I've had 2 butchers contact me that want me to come and do their own farm harvest so that they will not have to buy box meat. They have their own cattle and they have a butcher shop, but they still have to buy box meat to cut it up to sell to customers, and they're still selling their cows the traditional way. And they contact me to do this, and immediately when I start telling them what it's going to take with the USDA, they back. One of them backed away. One of them I think we're going to get, and I do think the guy who backed away is eventually going to come around, especially when he learns that he can actually bring other people's animals into his place, and I can harvest them on his place, so that the even smaller farmer around him has a means for getting to accomplishing harvest. So what we're actually talking about here is this. Let me walk through the scenario that we need to have for a backbone of this. We need to have a certain number of farms on at least a quarterly basis that are providing us almost a week's worth of slaughter, which would be about a week's worth of butchering a few weeks later. So we would go to the farm with our trailer. The farm would have to be set up, and I'll go through some of the details of what's needed on the farm on the next couple slides. We take our harvest trailer to the farm, do the harvest, hang in a cooler on your farm or a nearby cooler that you've arranged for, and then we come back with the cut and wrap trailer and cut everything up for you, and then we move the meat to your freezer. I know that there are a lot of larger farms that already have the good handling facilities. They have a freezer already, so it's just a matter of getting a cool space to put the animals in. It's the amount of animals that you would want to harvest For if it's we should be able to do between 40 and 50 in a week with one trailer. So that's the number we would need to have at some of these. We actually could do farms that were really able to do 20 to 25. We can work with that. So we do the cut and wrap. That's it. And then this is for as far as what we need. The handling equipment has to match up to the animals being harvested. It's just that's very simple. Sounds real simple, but I can't come and work sheep in a cattle squeeze. I can't really handle a pig in a cattle squeeze, the right size pig for harvest. Need a clean handling area, plan and a plan for the all-fall. Those are the big items. There are some other superficial things that we need to have electricity. Our trailer has a generator on it that's capable of running the trailer, but we would like to be able to. It's a lot more peaceful environment especially if you're working a long day at the place, to not have the generator running the whole time. Then as far as the aging on farm, we need adequate cooler space, web-connected thermometer, and then a method for handling the carcass going to and from the trailer, or to the trailer. The cut and wrap trailer would be best if it can back up to the cooler, and it has its own hoist that can handle a half of beef. And that when I'm speaking of numbers, I'm speaking of beef. Then it's a whole different thing if we're going to do sheep or pigs or goats. We can actually bring the slaughter trailer and come right away with the cut and wrap trailer. We still just have to have a way to deal when we travel with the aging part of the meat. We can do our trailer right now. The slaughter trailer that we have, actually the manufacturer has agreed to replace it with another trailer. It had too many defects in it. It's another reason we've stayed shut down. We did a voluntary I moved it into a voluntary phase of suspension, until we got this worked out. And the way we're going now is I've got Benny. This is Benny, and I have the professor of butchery at Mississippi State. Mississippi State put in a multi-million-dollar meat handling facility, paid for by the poultry companies in Mississippi, or poultry tax. They put in the big large animal handling facility, and then they brought in Dr. Burnett. Dr. Burnett, and then for example, he will stand in a classroom and talk to the students. Every student who goes through their meat program, doesn't have to be they're not going to be a butcher, most of them, but they still have to go through slaughter class. And he will stand on one side of the glass in the classroom, and then he has another guy who stands on the other side of the glass and is doing the work. And those two guys, I've got a contract with them to work with me through getting my conditional grant of inspection finished, and then they're going to continue with me and will work with us on an as-needed basis on into the future. And then I have one of the first graduates from their program available. So I have 4 high-quality butchers available to me, ready to get started. All we've got to do is get all the dots connected to provide the places to go and do this. Other ways in which it can be done, it doesn't just thinking. It doesn't have to be one farm that has to put in a cooler. It can be a group of farmers in an area. It can be a co-op that can do it in an area. It can be extension offices could put a cooler in at their handling facilities. There's a lot of ways to accomplish coming into an area and bringing the slaughter equipment in. So with that, that's my redemption meat is what we're calling the meat processing. My company, the farm that we actually got the grant under is Blue Sky RE LLC. That's my name and my contact information. With that, I'll open it up for questions.
What was the minimum number on cattle? Like, I'll just give you an example. We harvest 3 cows every week and every 3 weeks, and then we'll about that many sheep, and then similar in pigs.
Yeah, as far as coming to a farm, we pretty much need a good day's work. So we don't know how many we'll be able to do. These guys that are doing this now, I mean, they can do a goat in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It's going to be a function of spending the time together and seeing how fast they can. We'll get to a point where we're going to try to race and see how much we can do in a day, but we're not there yet. But I'm going to guess right at 8 to 10 animals, big cows, and then pigs. It'd be a good bit more than that. Sheep and goats, it'd be a lot more.
And then the cooler capacity in square feet or cubic feet, what would that be?
My cooler capacity that on this trailer, we are going to, the new trailer is not going to have as much cooler capacity. We had trouble actually cooling in this cooler. That's one of the reasons we're replacing it. This may turn into a storage trailer for us if we can get the cooling right on it. But the trailer that's going to come to do on-farm slaughter is going to be about 10 animals is all it's going to be able to, cows is all it's going to be able to hold, which that should be, almost double that in goats and pigs.
And then the 14-day thing, that becomes, you're saying on farm they'd have the cooler capacity though, right?
The cooling capacity would be dependent on the farm. So the farm, if they want us to come and work for a week and do 50 head, we'll come work there all week and do that. The typical farm that's going to do this is going to. I've got one person wants me to come do 8. Yeah, we'll come do 8. It's got to be cost effective enough, or at some point I've got to charge per mile travel time. When it depending on where it comes from. Eventually, we'd like to have a fleet of these around the region, so that we're not traveling as far.
You've got me asking questions. You're going to do 8 to 10 a day, and your aging process, you talk about a cooler. The cooler stays there to age the beef, and then you cut it up, or how do you do this?
Yeah, I'm looking for farms that are willing to put in the aging facility on the farm.
You're looking for them to have a cooler on their property.
Or a group of farmers who do it. I've had a group of farmers contact me saying they're ready to do this as soon as we can start slaughtering for them. That's just one example. That's in Jones County, Mississippi.
Okay, so you slaughter, hang them to age, and then come back and do the cutting.
That's right.
Okay, now what do you do with your outfall?
That is up to the farm. And it's up to the state. So, for example, in Mississippi, around my area, I have a farmer who wants it for composting, so he'll take every bit of it. In Alabama, they'll buy it. I don't know what it is in some other states, but Alabama has 3 dog food manufacturers, and they're competing for offal in Alabama. Eventually, they're probably going to come into Mississippi or surrounding states. So there's ways to accomplish it. It's on-farm composting is one of the best alternative, one of the best options for it.
All right, anybody else?
Okay, we got a place in Missouri that is trying to do the same thing with, for chickens. Okay, and they're having a problem with their wastewater. What to do with the wastewater? A containment or something like that. How do you handle that?
I've done some things with this trailer that have been kind of pushing out. See, this is the way I've been I'm working with the USDA, where I'm telling them I've looked at regulations. I'm telling them what we're going to do, And they're telling me you can't do it, but we're doing it anyway. And as long as we're not breaking any regulation, they can't tell us not to do it. We're using a pressure washer. And Dr. Burnett at Mississippi State is actually taking everything that we're doing, and he's trying to get a grant to show the reduced carbon impact on the environment for our type of processing over large-scale processing. And so one of the things we've done is greatly reduce the amount of water. And we're working with our trailer was designed to run 15 head through it, and with the pressure washer, we could clean up after all of that and clean every carcass with 150 gallons of water using the pressure washer.
Now, would this be able to be USDA inspected?
Yes.
Okay.
We will do non-inspected work as well. We'll do state inspected or non-inspected custom slaughter as well.
Anybody else?
Can you comment on relative costs relative to a standard, brick and mortar abattoir?
Yeah, we're so if you're taking care of the aging, we are going to have our own cooler for being able to go do the on-farm slaughter, take it to our facility, and cool it. We haven't decided whether or not we're going to build that on a farm, or if we're going to build it in a commercial area. But if you're doing the on-farm where we're coming back to your farm, we're talking about prices substantially less than you're facing at your traditional places you go. And around $700, depending on if it's going to have to be a little more than that if you're just at 7 or 8 animals or 7 or 8 beef. If you're 12 or more then definitely 7 or under. We can make that work. It's going to depend on what we can get done in a day. If you want us to be a day and a half, that could make the cost be a little bit more per animal. We're going to work with you. Our goal in this is to make this work for the farmer. It's not. We are not trying to get in this to make a lot of money off the bat. I still don't know why I'm doing this, because I don't even know how I'm going to be profitable yet. But I did get a grant to get this first set of trailers started, so I don't have to worry about a loan payment on those. I did just buy a $100,000 truck that's going to start carrying this around, these around, so I've got to start paying for that.
Yes. Here in the room, we've been watching our processing price go up here in Greene County. It's around 90 cents a pound. What's it running with the people here in the room? How much a pound, not counting the kill bill and just a process per pound? What are you finding?
He said 75 cents, not counting the slaughter.
Okay. Who else?
Hold your mic up so we can hear you.
Who else has got some pricing that they've paid recently?
70 cents, 60 cents.
That includes slaughter on those?
Does not include the kill fee and trucking. Okay. Kill fee's $100.
And it's kind of impossible for me to give exact pricing on some of this, because, for example, if I come to your farm and I slaughter 8 animals and I carry them back to my cooler, I've got to charge to do that part of it differently than I'm going to. But in that scenario, we're going to be real close to what everybody else's pricing is, and it's going to be dependent on the quality of the work that our guys are putting out that makes you want to keep coming back to us. And you don't have to worry about getting your animals corralled up. You have to get them corralled up, and that's it. And that's the same place they've been corralled for their whole life. I can go into a lot of benefits, advantages to doing the on-farm slaughter. That has less hormone secretion. That affects flavor. There's less stress to the animal. When you take it to the facility, usually you're taking it a day or 2 days in advance. sometimes 3 days or more in advance before they're going to actually kill it. So all it's getting is water during that period of time. You got that loss. You got your own fuel cost to take them there.
Okay. One more there.
If it's USDA inspected, will we be able to sell like steaks to people, or we still have to sell like half a cow?
You can sell individual steaks, and you can mail them across state lines. The other advantage, the other thing that we can do with this, trying to work with this regionally, is we can help in the area of sales. So you've been you're growing enough animals to be harvesting 50 a year, but you're not able to do that because you can only sell 10 of those a year. So we help, we can step in and start and create a sales force that's helping sell the meat. And so here's all that has to happen is that when I might sell a whole bunch of meat to a restaurant, and let's say I sell 100 pounds of meat to a restaurant. That restaurant I can send them 10 pounds of meat from Blue Sky Farms and 10 pounds of meat from your farm and 10 from your farm, and that's my tracking. That's all I have to do for the USDA. I don't have to. That's your own farm name and the way we label it creates the tracking for that meat, and that's the main thing they're concerned about when it goes out.
Okay, I have two questions. One is when you come to someone's farm and you're doing two species, like you're doing the sheep and you're doing cattle. I heard you talk about the squeeze didn't work very well for the sheep and the cattle. Do you bring do you bring more than one squeeze? Like if you know you're coming to our farm for sheep and cattle, do you bring two squeezes?
No, I'm depending on your farm to have the adequate
so
handling facility for,
own.
In this case, this farmer went and bought some sheep and some pigs just to try this and see if he was going to start doing on-farm slaughter. He had built his own farm cooler.
Right.
He was already doing his own chicken processing USDA on his farm, and this farmer still today doesn't know that it was his farm that caused me to get suspended. I sent him a bill for our time there, and he sent me the check with a letter telling me that why he wasn't going to use me anymore, and we didn't even talk about it. But he didn't realize that it was his farm that got me disqualified.
Well, when you first talked about it, I wasn't clear on whether we had to provide our own squeeze, our own materials and equipment.
It would be so you have to have adequate for whatever animal you want slaughtered. I need to have the squeeze. It'll squeeze down like Dr. Williams' farm, the BDA farms in Alabama.
Right.
He took me and showed me this brand new facility they built. It has a hydraulic squeeze that can one squeeze can do all three species.
And do you have any information on who builds custom like little reefer trailers that you can do your coolers? You can build your cooler and keep it on site?
There's a backlog pretty much everywhere you go with the companies that do that. I'm working totally with mobile meat processing, and because I'm working with them and I'm giving them a lot of feedback. I mean, this trailer. Let's see. You taking my slides off?
Uh-oh. Well.
Yeah. So the cut and wrap trailer, we just got it this last week, and it's already got a couple of things that we don't like about it.
Right. It's just some questions because if you're going to start this, you want to know how you're going to hang your meat. We hang for 21 days, so we would like to have everything ready, a cooler on site that doesn't take up too much time. And it sounds like most of the people are hanging for 14. So.
You just brought up a really good point. There's nothing keeping me from getting a trailer that I can actually leave on your farm, or that I can find. I'd get a group of several trailers that could be moved around your area. If we were coming to Tennessee and doing a lot of slaughter, we could definitely have a couple of trailers left here.
I just thought I'd address those couple of questions because I thought it would be interesting for everyone.
Yeah, and on that point, let me just, everybody, if you've even just one day thought, I'm going to look into meat processing, everybody tells you it's $2 million to get started in it. to build a USDA slaughter facility. I'm talking about a lot smaller numbers of being able to accomplish what we want to accomplish. Yes, a fleet of these trailers is going to be comparable, but we're going to be doing the amount of slaughter that we'd be doing at one of those facilities too.
Okay, right here's Hugh.
Yeah, I was wondering, are you familiar with PSE meat, the pale, soft, and exudative?
No.
Okay. Well, it's, is that better? Pale, soft, exudative meat. I don't know if, is anyone here familiar with that? Okay. Well, I had an issue with it, and what happens is the animal gets really scared right before it's slaughtered, and its adrenaline's pumping and pumping, and it basically causes an entire loss of the animal. Well, because what happens is all of its fluids drain out in a hurry, and then the amino acids, the proteins break down more rapidly into amino acids, and so it basically ruins the meat. It basically turns it into I've had to. It only happened to me once, but the reason being is
You're the first person I met that I've heard that happening to.
Well, the reason being is because it was super scared before, and you know I could see the purpose of these I mean, I would see more of a business model where the trailer goes out and collects the animals to prevent that. Because I mean, you can look in, especially it's really prevalent in hogs and pigs, because I don't know why, but it's like billions of dollars are lost from processing hogs and pigs from being the PSE meat. But the benefit would be you would eliminate that by going out there and eliminating all of the climate, the environmental change and such.
Right.
As they go from here to there, and who knows if they ever get acclimated at the slaughterhouse? Probably not. I wouldn't get acclimated.
Well, in our situation, the pig that took us an extra 30 seconds to harvest, to reload the gun and to fire again, that pig suffered an extra 30 seconds. Every other pig that you eat, when you eat pork that is in a grocery store, has grown up in a barn and has then gone into a container, has been then trucked out to the Pacific Ocean, and then put into a container and shipped to China, and then that's where it's finished and cut up. That's a lot more stress than that 30 seconds, that extra time it takes. And then this is just what the inspector, that's just one part of what USDA ridiculous. It can get really out of hand.
Yeah, I was just imagining that you would have a really hard time having a USDA certified facility when you're dependent upon someone else's cooler. You know?
No, that cooler. Let me explain it. It becomes if I come and put meat in a cooler on your farm, that cooler is technically it's mine. Like it's we'll have a contract that says it's leased to me in that time period while that meat's hanging there. And I have to have a designee there who's checking temperatures in it daily, and I'm also monitoring them with a computer through the internet as well. So we have to have that connection to be able to monitor the coolers.
All right. Anybody else? Any other questions? All right. Hugh, thank you very much. Good topic.